Okay, welcome back, Scott's Radios channel. Today I have a Anytone AT-6666. This is a brand new radio. Just unboxed it. There's the box and everything that it came in. I don't know. Zoom out some here. There we go. So that's the box. This is where it's made. That's who actually makes it. They make a lot of very popular makes and models of radios, so just because your radio says a certain brand on the outside does not mean that that's who actually makes it. So these guys make a lot of stuff. So I already got this thing keyed up. We're on the dummy load, and we're going to go right into the factory, what they come out of the box. So this is like the test parameter here. So there's our frequency on AM. It's a little low. I can adjust that. That's not a big deal. It's been on for a while. I actually had to redo my audio cable because it ended up giving out on me. So here's our carrier. 25 watt slug in there, so it's about 12.5 watts all the way up. And if I lower the dead key down with the RF power control, it's probably about, for the sake of this slug, I'd say about 2.5 watts. So it's got a pretty good ratio. Let's turn the tone on. We can just look at average power. So it does increase. Let me put I'll put 100 in there, I guess, because this is a higher powered radio. So just 1 second. Turn the peak kit on. Okay. So now I got 100 in there. 100. So we'll look at the bottom. Get this thing to sit still. There we go. Okay, we'll turn our tone back on. So yeah, it's a little over 50. So I probably could have been okay with the 50. So that's AM. Let me show you guys sideband really quick. And remember, this is just out of the box. All I did is do the program conversion right through the front of the radio. So we'll go to lower sideband. I did turn our mic gain control all the way up inside on the radio on the menu, which it starts at 30 out of the box. Now it's at 36. So this will just be a 1K tone on SSB to give you an idea. So again, it's doing just a little over 50. That's pretty good, you know, not complaining at all there. Go back to AM now. Oh, let's do FM actually. FM on these guys. All the way up is about 40. And then I think all the way down is like 2 watts or something. Yeah, it goes way down. So the 100 ain't going to do us much justice here, but I think it's like the same as AM, pretty darn close anyway. So that's that. Let's go back to AM now. We'll look at the other pieces of test equipment. That's basically our power. So let's see here. Alright, so we're back on AM. So let's see our frequency. You know, they're a little off out of the box. It's not that big of a deal. Again, you can adjust that internally. It has that coil inductor. So, you know, this radio has a lot of surface mount component, but it still has that inductor, which helps control the frequency. So the newer boards are a little bit better. They don't have that. It's all preset. And from what I've seen, the newer boards, that everything is preset. Like the DX 5000 Plus is really nice. There's really no drift or anything, which these don't have a lot anyways once I go in and adjust it. But right now I think we're looking at 10 kilohertz span each direction. So we're looking at channel 20, and then to the right would be 21 on the right hand side of the screen, and then to the left would be 195. So 1 kilohertz tone. The scope is up here, just got a 2-division carrier up there. So there you go, it's out of the box, pretty good. Really no bleed over, splatter, or anything like that, so that's what you like to see. Let's set this thing up for sideband really quick. Take a look at that. We'll go to lower sideband, so you should see our signal shift to the left. So let's see here. There's our dual tone. So it's a little distorted out of the box. They all seem to come like this. So what I normally do is turn the output power down just ever so slightly. It actually needs to be turned down. It's just a little. You can look at that waveform up there and see that it's not really ideal for what we're looking at there. It's a little. It kind of looks like glasses or something. It's oblonged, and it should be more similar to what you'd see on your AM. A little bit different, but it shouldn't look like that. I mean, that's not horrible. I've seen a lot worse with other manufacturers' sideband radios, but again, I can turn it down and make it look a lot better. It's looking good on the spectrum analyzer, though. It's still not splattering or anything like that, so that part is fine. And I mean, if you didn't have test equipment and you just unboxed one of these and used it, you're going to be fine. I mean, it's not going to hurt the radio or anything. It's just a matter of, since I have the stuff here, I want it to look better. So that's basically it for that. Again, the mic gain was set all the way up. The RF power is all the way up. I can turn it down, and we can see it really doesn't change that waveform. You just lose output power. So we'd have to readjust the scope to get a better view of that, but it really doesn't change much there. Let's go to AM. And we'll do that right there with the output power. Okay, plug this mic jack back in. Put our tone on. There's our RF power all the way up, and that's all the way down. So again, we'd have to adjust the scope. I can try to do that really quick. It's easier just to focus on a carrier than it is while it's modulated. So let's see. Actually have to hit the control up here. That's better. Alright, let's see. Yeah, so on low power, it's a little undermodulated, so it's kind of what you would see there. A little lower on modulation, quite a bit lower actually. So it just depends on how somebody would want to run one of these. You know, if you wanted to run an amp, which honestly you would need a pretty big amp to run. I mean, if you're going to run something like, even like, in my opinion, like a 503 HD, it's really, the radio's too much for it. Because if I adjust this modulation level up on the low power, the radio's still going to do a lot of forward power. It's going to do more than what that 503 HD, in my opinion, should handle, especially for AM. So you have to kind of factor what you want to do. Now, these are a very good radio. They're a high power. That's me adjusting the RF power up. They're a very good high power radio in their own right. So really, I mean, if you can get 60, 70, sometimes 75 watts out of these, you're really only like 1 S unit down from that 503 HD's output anyways, if you were running that with like a lower powered radio. So really you're not losing that much by just running this radio by itself. And that's something that I'm a little more particular to. You know, that 1S unit really, unless you're maybe mobile or something, it's not going to make a huge difference. So, in my opinion, anyway. So let's set this thing up to look at the receiver. since we're here. Well, actually, let's just show you guys with a microphone, because I know everybody likes to see that too. So we'll put this, this is a 6-pin, so it'll plug right into this wired direct. 532 KPO. Nice mic to run with these. Sound really good. This has that electric condenser, which this radio requires. I have heard people running dynamic mics on these, but I just don't think it's the right thing to do on these. These are not set up for that. They don't have an internal adjustment like some of the other radios do to switch mic type. So here's our transmit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to show you guys the watt meter. It's over here. Again, that 100's still in there. We can see the peak it's on, so I'll just focus on the watt meter right now. I'll just talk into my mic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, even with voice right out of the box, we're doing over 60 watts pretty much. So, and the mic's about halfway up, and I'm not eating the mic or anything. I'm about 3 inches away. So there's where the, I don't know if you guys can even see that. That's where the mic level is. So I back the RF power all the way down on the radio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello. So we're still, I don't know, sometimes 20 to 30 watts. Even with that lower modulation level, it's still, you know, doing pretty good. So that's why I say if you were to go in and adjust this radio for a lower dead key and adjust that AMC control to make that show a little more modulation, you crank that RF power up, I think you're going to be over modulated to begin with because of that, and you're probably going to swing a lot more than what you know, like the 503 HD would handle. Now if you had something bigger, something transistor wise, yeah, you could probably get away with doing it. The only reason why I say you shouldn't do this type of stuff, I don't want to see somebody destroy their amplifier, because if the amplifier goes, chances are it's going to direct short, and it'll probably come back and take out the radio too. So it's kind of like a chain effect. So I just don't like to see people set themselves up for failure. So let's go to sideband now. We'll take a look at the output power with the mic there. So whoop. Okay, here's sideband with the RF power all the way down. So you can really crank these down, and you know, you could run kind of whatever you wanted, I guess, on sideband with these. I'll leave that up to the operator, but that's with it all the way up right there. So again, it's doing right out of the box 60 plus watts. You know, it's really all they're rated at anyways. So to go in and crank these things up more, I think it's just a lot of time wasted, really. I mean, 60 watts is plenty out of a small radio like this, you know. So I think it's doing just fine. What else can I show you guys? Oh, we're going to do the receive now. So let me get things set up for that. That'll be really easy to do. Just 1 second. Okay, so we're back. We got the receive test set up. So let's take a look. So we can see here, we're kind of what we're looking at. We're at negative 111.5. And if you're zooming on our Synad, back that out some. It's bouncing around like right at that 12 dB mark. And I think you guys can probably hear the tone. It's still nice and strong. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Let's check the sideband now. So let me just get that set up really quick here. Your sideband. So we don't need a tone for sideband. We need to go to lower sidebands where I want to start. And that's pretty much what I normally test is lower sideband. So we'll put a lower sideband on our radio. We'll set our volume level. I usually set it to 3 volts, close as I can. Sometimes it's a little finicky. There we go. Okay. And let's adjust our since we're on sideband, we have to adjust the clarifier control to match the tone of the RF signal generator, so we've done that so we can hear it. Now we'll start lowering our sensitivity level, or I mean our signal level. I'll try to zoom in on the Synad so you guys can see it as well. There we go. Now I'm just going to start manually entering numbers because it'll go probably past where we find the threshold there. So yeah, about 125.5. I think that's pretty darn good. And I can show you guys that. Negative 125.5. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty good right out of the box. So I don't really ever find the need to adjust these for anymore. I think that's more than enough, and they do really good. I run one of these mobile, and I'm really happy with the performance. I have really good receive with it. I run the high cut filter, I run the noise blanker, and I'm really happy with how everything sounds and everything on the receive. And the S meter is a little different how they have it calibrated. It does work quite well though, surprisingly. I shut the equipment off right here. We're done with that now. So let me get this thing back over here. I find that when I'm down by my work location, which is near Detroit, Michigan, that sometimes the CB can get kind of crazy down there. Carrier throwers, music played over the radio and such stuff. So I've found that by driving around, not even really just driving home, trying to get to the expressway and stuff, just lowering my RF gain, you can actually find out how close you are to somebody rather easily. And I mean, you can do that with any radio, but this radio in particular, I found that the S meter is very, very sensitive as far as when you start lowering the RF gain. It really does tell you about when you're right on top of somebody, because honestly, I didn't even know where the one gentleman lived or anything, and I just happened to notice an antenna up one day and a strong carrier in the area, and lo and behold, that's where it was. So, and by lowering the RF gain control, the closer I got, of course, the stronger the signal got as I got closer. So that was kind of something that I haven't done in years and years, since back when I was a teenager and just got driver's licenses, and guys would get together and do like those we called it CB tag, but a lot of guys had different names for it and stuff. People would go hide in their vehicles, and other guys would try to find them. So I thought that was kind of neat that you could still do that in a sense. And I think like some people call it fox hunting and stuff like that. So the radio does work rather well for that. And I know it doesn't have an analog S meter, but it does do a pretty good job with that digital display. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with how that works. So the only thing I really think I should do to this is adjust that sideband back just slightly, and possibly adjust the AM frequency control inside, and that's really it. So if you guys want to bear with me, I'll pop the covers on this thing and we'll just take a look at what needs to get done. Alright, so we're back with our AT-6666, and that's again where I'm showing you guys just the frequency. It's about 68, 65 hertz low for AM, which really isn't that big of a deal to begin with, but I'm just going to pop the covers on this thing, and then we will, or I will show you guys, make the necessary adjustment, and then we'll adjust the ALC just ever so slightly to make that waveform look a little better. So let me get that set up, and I'll be right back. Alright, here's our circuit board. So I want to point out one more thing here. So your echo controls are inside on the radio. So W901, W900. So I usually only adjust W901, which would be this one. I don't ever really adjust the W900. 901 seems to affect the level of the echo, and that's really all that needs to get adjusted, because honestly it's way too much out of the box, so it's a little overbearing. So over here is your SSB, and I believe all I'm going to do is adjust the W6. So let me get that set up and I'll be right back. Alright, so you got two adjustments on the board. You got W6 and then you have W3. So between those two, we are going to clean up this waveform. So we can see where it's at right now. And we can see over here still our peak power 100 watt slug in there. So we're not really worried about power at this point. Power is irrelevant for this test. We want things to look good here. So I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to make my adjustments in real time here. I'll let you guys kind of see the finished product. So this is going to be W6 first. It's already looking a little bit better there. Now yeah, if you go on this W3, you can really crank up the power, but look what it's doing to that waveform. It's boxing it off, and we're almost at 80 watts peak envelope power right here, so you don't want that. We're going to set that right for the factory level, 60 watts. We're going to change our tone just a little bit. That's actually too much. I'm just adjusting the tone on the two-tone here. Okay, so we'll go back to this W6 because that seems to be the better one here. So that's starting to look much better right there. More rounded. So if we go back to W3, so that's looking a lot better right there. We might have lost maybe 4 or 5 watts or something. No big deal. So we do this. Sort of bring that into view a little bit better. That looks much better right there. That's what you should see. That's a good dual tone sideband waveform. I just look at it blown up because it's easier for me to make my adjustment that way. But you could do it like this too. It really doesn't make a difference. I could actually look at W3 just a little bit more and see if there's anything more. You know, I mean, it doesn't make a difference really. A few extra watts of power, but that's right back at our factory level of 60. So that looks pretty good. I did clean it up slightly, and that's really all you need to do. So put our mic on it and just see if it made any change on with the microphone. With the output power, that's what we're going to look at over here. Still that 100 in there. So let's see. Hello, test 1 2 1 2 3 4 5. Check 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 1 2. So it actually increased maybe just a little bit, but it's not anything, no big deal. It's still doing about the 60 that it should, which is great. So if we turn it all the way down on the RF power, all the way down, you know, it's still doing, I don't know, 20 watts, maybe a little less now. 1 2 3 4 5. It took a minute for it to catch up, but yeah, it's doing less, like more like a regular 40 channel radio would do. So I think that's working good. So I can show you guys AM now if we want to take another quick look at that and just kind of see what things are looking like there. Well, we got the cover off. Now keep in mind, if you don't have test equipment, all this I'm showing you is kind of worthless. You need to have the test equipment to make these adjustments. Otherwise you're better off just running it factory, in my opinion. So you got W5 up here, W5 up here, and then down here W501 right there next to that red wire. So those would be your two adjustments. I don't think I need to adjust anything on this radio, but I know guys will probably want to see what it'll do if I do adjust it, so just for the heck of it I will slightly look at that. Alright, so let's see here. We'll put our mic jack back in, make sure our radio's on AM now. Okay, let's get our scope adjusted. That's good. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys the scope. Our power's all the way up. That's our kilohertz division there. I mean, it looks good to me already. So that's our 10 kilohertz each way off the carrier frequency, channel 20. So that's the scope. It really doesn't need to be adjusted. I mean, to me it looks okay. So some guys might think that you can get a little bit more, and maybe you can, you know. We can look at it and just see. So right now we're doing about 50 watts peak envelope power, and I will just take a quick look and see. So I'll just leave the scope up there so you guys can watch that. Did I bump it with my head? Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at, what is this one? W5, which is right up next to that W6. I'll just take a quick peek at what happens here. So I'm adjusting it clockwise. Yeah, you can see the modulation's coming up a little bit. But if I go too high, it'll start splattering. So that's probably good there, I would think. If you go any more than that, what'll happen is down here, you're going to start bringing that up more to where the carrier is. It's going to start showing it splattering up, so you don't want that really. You don't want that splatter. So I'd say that's probably the max I would go. And now we're doing a little over 60 watts peak envelope power on AM. So and that might actually be too much. I don't like to run things even that hot. Everybody has a preference on how they want. I'd say about like that's probably better. So, and it's still a little over 60. So that's really it. Let's look at the low modulation, see if that made any difference. So yeah, I think it did. Let's take a look here. So this is the low power setting. Yeah, it looks better now on the low power setting. So yeah, just a little tiny turn clockwise and things look a little bit better. So now we're doing like 20 watts peak envelope power on low. Put our mic on it now and see what it's doing. See here, the 100 really doesn't do this low power test justice because it's not going to be as accurate of a reading. Should probably have the 50 in there, but just for the sake of this, we're just going to test it with the 100. We need the 100 for the high power anyway, so low power setting, hello, test 1 2 3 4, test 1 2 3 4. So I mean, you can still see even with the low power setting, you know, what kind of power you're getting out of this thing now. That's why I say it's too much power for a you know, like a 503 HD, something like that, you know, probably even like a 703. I don't know, I don't have a 703, I've never ran one, but you know, I would think like a straight 4-pill, something like that, you could run this into that. But I wouldn't be running this into like a 503 HD with this much power. That's just my opinion, my concern. I don't like to see people ruin their stuff, and like I say, I would think if a MOSFET amp were to go, it's going to create like that dead short in your antenna system, and it's going to blow back towards the radio and probably take out the radio, especially if you're on SSB. Those MOSFETs really do not have any forgiveness on SSB. They will pop like in an instant. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I think it's, you know, still too much. Here's high power. So see, this thing probably came to life quite a bit now, yeah. So it's doing, you know, a good 70 watts or so, you know. That, to me, that's enough to run, you know. I'm happy with that. If I can't make it with this kind of output power, it is what it is, you know. I need, what, 280 watts to really have one more S unit, so kind of a, like to run lower output, I guess. It's just how I am. Used to run stuff, a lot of stuff in my younger days, but anymore, I'm just happy being on the air with whatever I have. So yeah, that's about it for this. If anybody's interested in this radio, right here, it's available. So you've seen it in action, and I think it's working good. I can adjust the echo if anybody wants me to do that. It's hard to adjust the echo for somebody though, only because I don't know what their preference is for echo. Some guys will never use it, so it really doesn't matter to them, but then some guys might. But it's rather easy to do it yourself. You just pop the cover, and right up here in the front, I would just say to adjust this one here and not the one on the back, and just see what happens. So what I use for adjusting these potentiometers in there, because they're small, they're a little different than what most guys are probably used to. I'll show you guys what I use, and it works quite well. So what I use is this tuning tip. It looks like that, and I don't press down hard on them or anything like that. I just set them on there gently and they'll turn. So you could probably get by with something like non-conductive, but you know, these are a little more difficult to use on those. I found that tuning tool I just showed you, the black one, works quite good for that, and that's really about it. I don't change anything else on these. Oh, I need to adjust the AM frequency. That's the only other thing. I forgot about that. So let's do that really quick. See where we're at with that. It probably changed since the cover's been off for so long. Yeah, it's actually gotten worse now. So what I would recommend to do in this situation is just put the cover on for a while. You want to let it stabilize temperature-wise inside the chassis with the cover on, because that's how you're going to run it. I would also recommend flipping it on this side, because that's normally how it's going to be sitting. I don't think too many guys are going to run the radio upside down, but could be wrong. So that's what I'd recommend. Since I've had the cover off this thing for a while, I'd recommend leaving it sit for at least 30 minutes or so.